All right, so altcoins are on fire, and maybe in a good way. They're starting to hit a lot of the exchanges. My name is Paul Barron, and this is TechPath. Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about a little coin called Chiliz, and Chiliz is one of those unusual projects that I think, though, is a good project in the sense of what it does. And we're going to break into that. Before we get started, let's head over to Trade the Chain, take a look at what Chiliz is doing. Currently holding at 28 cents, you can kind of see the sentiment here. I've got the 7-day on, and you kind of saw the bubble right here. Of course, this is the bump where they get on Coinbase, and then sentiment continues to be very, very high for this project. Trading at 1.69 billion in the market cap, tweet volume 1266, which is up tremendously at 183%. Zoom in on that so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. Up quite a bit. So not a bad thing for Chiliz. Let's kind of look over and see what is causing all this commotion. Obviously, you guys know Shiba, Chiliz, Keep Network, Soar, obviously after being added to Coinbase Pro. This is the whole thing is we are seeing more and more coins moving into Coinbase, and Coinbase does really work. It gives you the bump. You can kind of see this right here. Chiliz is up 18% over the past 24 hours. Keep was up. Shiba was up. Everybody that got rolled out on these exchanges is up. So nice little bump. If you can start to anticipate these, this is definitely going to be one way that you guys can do day trades or, swing trades that you want to get into something or get into a project like this. I think Chiliz, though, has some potential to really kind of take it a little bit further. Let's go into some price predictions here on how high can it go after the Coinbase listing. And this is just some stuff that has come in. Kind of interesting because, if you look at where they're going, but the cryptocurrency is a market cap, 1.9 bill. It snags the number 52 spot. So it's definitely getting very respectable on the altcoin list in terms of where it's going. This is a good opportunity for Chiliz to get a lot of face time for both new investors and altcoin investors that really like to diversify their portfolios. I think that's going to be very interesting. Before we get in too far on the final price predictions on this, let's go over to Chiliz and show you a little about what this little coin and little project does. The world's leading blockchain fintech provider for sports and entertainment. It's developed the Socios.com sports and fan engagement platform, which is built on the Chiliz blockchain. Infrastructure uses CHZ as its token and exclusive on platform currency. So eventually you're going to be able to utilize the token, obviously, on the currency. There's a few partners in here. They've got a lot of the big soccer league partners, but they also have MMA, which is pretty cool. And I think that when you look at the kind of audience that is going to be moving into this and where this potentially go, if we ever get into sports betting and things of that nature into blockchain, which it's coming, it's not going to be long before a platform like this might be able to provide that. So let's look further on down. Rocketfuel for Socios.com. This is the fan engagement platform that we were talking about, built from the ground up on Chiliz blockchain. You can kind of see where it's going, including, this is some of their partners, sports teams, FC Barcelona, Juventus, Paris. These are all the soccer leagues. And then, of course, UFC right there. Boom. This is going to be huge. So fan tokens bought on social allow influencers to influence their teams via popular vote and become eligible for engagement-based team rewards and recognition. This is where I think this kind of is very innovative because of the fact that it's going to be something that works around that whole social effect, especially in sports. It works in sports and on social media. That's why sports is such a huge opportunity in social media. And for something like what they're doing with Socios, I want to jump to Socios' website right here, because you can get this app both now on iOS and Android. It was, I think, just available on Android here recently. But you can kind of see what's happening with it. The app itself, so you get token hunt, some trading, a lot of the locker room jazz, a predictor tool, and then these level ups and badges. I think this is the kind of thing when you think about social gaming and where this could potentially go down the road. This could be a really interesting model and play. And I think this is one of those projects because of the size of market of sports. And when you have a blockchain product like this and project like this moving, This is huge, and I think this is why we've got so many people that are a big fan of the Chiliz coin and what Socios is trying to do. Let's jump over here to the price predictions, because there was quite a few variations here. Now, there are some people looking at this and saying that we are going to see the retrace occur after the run-up. So you see Chiliz price has been on a tear since it's rallied 40% since June 15th. It had the initial run-up, currently rallied at its peak. It's indicated on the MRI, 12% correction on the demand zone, ranging from 28 to 29. It's holding at 28 at the time of this filming. Chiliz price saw massive rallies over the past week due to the European Cup, which was, anytime, which is the other thing that I look at. If you're a big sports fan, if Chiliz starts to get involved more and more in these leagues and or in things like MMA or UFC, the events could start to really move the token. So that in itself, just because of the number of fans that will be active on Socios and kind of how that becomes that network effect, you get amplification that could become very difficult to score and measure in terms of what that amplification effect could have. Because we do it based on amplification mostly within the social range. But if you get into sports and just the fanatic element around it, it really starts to create a bit of a frenzy. And that's anytime you have that, that's a big thing and a great opportunity. Chiliz eyes higher. Let's look at back to this story. Chiliz price rose roughly 55% to the start of the Euro 2020 tournament. However, the rally faded as Chiliz went from 37 down to 26, which was a 26% retracement. So that's what I'm getting at, is that the rise of these events could move it, and then you get that quick fall off. So there's a big situation there that I think could be affecting this. Interestingly, this move found support at 50%, which was on the Fibonacci retracement level at 26.6, which is midway point on the range, basically stretches over from 16.4 to 36.8. Chiliz price market structure looks strong when looking at this range and how the altcoin has never stayed below 26 cents for too long. So the question is, now that it's trading in and around 28, and it's got its little slide from the initial Coinbase listing, is it a good time for entry to Chiliz? Let's take a look at the chart and find out. All right, so sentiment holding back in May during the big slide. We should call that the big event. Amplification was a little low at the time, 41.08 on the sediment, 31.22 on the amp. Moved along sideways until the Coinbase news started percolating. And then I think that's when we started to see some movement. Right here, you had this false top, which was right at, looks to be 36 cents. And that amp moved considerably up from 31 to 45, and then sentiment held at 50 on this particular period of time, which ranged right around June 11th through June 14th. A little sideways action, and then Coinbase gets involved, and then boom, we get this nice little rise right up to 36, and she's come back down to around 28, trading at today. So here's the thing though, look at the amplification number right here. Sentiment continued to climb even during this drop, which that's what we look at is downward sentiment data, because that tells us if the investment community is convicted in that particular investment. Amplification though went off the charts with this. Now part of that could have been the Coinbase scenario. That could be it. The other thing could be that finally people have started to figure out where they're going with this project, and maybe as it starts to roll out more of the partnerships and Socios becomes a larger base of users, this, especially if you're able to, well, which you are, trade or use the token in the actual application, that in itself is going to create kind of a very unique environment. I think this is a great entry point for Chiliz. If you're looking at trying to lock in an altcoin this weekend, you want to maybe look a little bit lower. Many analysts are saying not below 26, even though it did hit the 20-cent point back on June 8th, which was very close to its, actually the low, looks like the low was 18 over the last couple of months. But volume has not been active here too much in this range until we started seeing activity on Coinbase. Coinbase, I think, is just going to make it easier to buy, easier people to get involved, and easier for people to understand what socios is going to mean to that. All right, so we do these market movers from time to time. And the idea is pretty straightforward. Put all these kind of tool sets together for you. We layer in a little bit of data. Remember, this is not investment advice. We want you guys to go out and do your own due diligence and investment on all your investments, whether public or private. And again, if you're watching in over or listening in over on the podcast, give us some stars. If you're here on YouTube, make sure and subscribe, man. This is the place to catch all of these altcoin and many of our market mover analysis that gives you guys some insights to where this stuff is going. And make sure to share the video. Send it out to one of your friends, colleagues, and hopefully say, hey man, check out Paul on TechPath. They're doing some cool things over there. If you have an idea for a show, shoot it to us, which is just producer@reverendnetworks.com, or hit me up on Twitter @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.